So now that you have an account, what type of investment approaches are available for you? Three main approaches that I would like to touch upon: active investing, passive investing, and goal-based investing. The first one is active investing. So if I am an active manager, what I say is that I can generate above market returns on a risk-adjusted basis. So that means that I promise you, as an investor, I promise you to deliver a better rate of return than the one that you would actually generate by just purchasing all the stocks on the Toronto Stock Exchange, for example. This involves forecasting and stock picking. So essentially how that works is that I would do some analysis, and if my price that I forecast for, let's say, a year from now is higher than the current price of the stock, then I would actually purchase that stock, of course. And if I estimate that the price is going to be lower next year, then I would tend actually to sell that stock. So this is what an active manager would tend to do. Usually, it's more expensive than index investing that we'll see in a moment, simply because an active manager would tend to charge higher management fees. It also leads to more concentrated portfolio, between 20 and 60, I said on the slide, sometimes maybe 80. But it's certainly not all the stocks available on the Toronto Stock Exchange. For example, if we were to look at the Canadian market, there are about 250 stocks on the Toronto Stock Exchange also. This active investing approach also leads to a higher risk level compared to that of the overall market. So that's something to keep in mind. And I would argue that it's easier said than done. This idea of forecasting, and we know how difficult it is to forecast. The best analogy that I have is I don't think anyone, certainly not Environment Canada, had predicted the cold weather that we had so far in January. In fact, if I go back to their forecast a couple of months or 3 months ago, it was calling for a milder, especially in the east, winter. So clearly, forecasting is one of the most difficult exercise for humans out there. Now, index investing seeks, on the other hand, to achieve market returns, no more, no less. Involves buying entire section of the market through the use of index funds or ETF, exchange-traded funds. And this is a very practical solution, particularly for smaller portfolios. Easier and faster to achieve full diversification, because if you were to purchase an ETF that represents the Toronto Stock Exchange, for example, in one purchase, it's as if you would have purchased all 250 stocks on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So that practical aspect is absolutely critical, especially if you have a smaller portfolio. But having said this, it also works very well with larger portfolios. It's very cost effective, just like I mentioned, one purchase as opposed to 250 individual purchases. Usually a much cheaper approach than active investing. Finally, I would like to say a few words about goal-based investing. Goal-based investing involves building, just like the name indicates, a separate and dedicated portfolio for each goal. And this is very important because we all have different goals and aspirations in life. Some of those goals would have a shorter time horizon, while others would have a much longer time horizon. Let's say I want to save to buy, let's say, a home in a few years, then that would have a very different time horizon if I were to think about my retirement portfolio, which is 30-year plus time years away. So that makes a huge difference and helps actually manage all the goals, even those with conflicting time horizons. It's also much better to allow you to track the progress that you make towards each of your goals. The progress towards each goal could be actually measured very, very precisely.